In the province of Alberta is formed, which was the county of Taber. A new school was built with a dormitory. Rural students started living in the dorms and being bused into Taber. The closure of Sherburne School. Grandma being the first teacher to teach there and Mom being the last teacher to teach there. Those American Sherburne boys sure did know how to set up a life trap. Most of them married teachers. Mom has to go to summer school in Edmonton, so she has to borrow the $200 from Uncle Harry again. Next, she was assigned to Circle Hill, a two-room school, which was a couple of miles north of Vauxhall. There, she taught grades 4 to 8 and lived in the teacherage with the other teacher. Easter holidays of 1945, Dad took Mom to Winfield to meet his family. May 8th was VE Day, when the war in Europe ended. Mom went back to Edmonton for her last year of summer school. And Dad went to Winfield to build them a log house on his parents' homestead, which was the one by Town Lake. August 6, 1945 was VJ Day, when the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and the Japanese surrendered, ending World War II. When Mom finished summer school that year, she had earned her permanent teaching certificate. Dad met her in Edmonton, and on August 17, 1945, they were married by the Justice of the Peace. They took the train to Vauxhall, spent a few days there, and then went on to Vulcan. They stayed with Dad's half-sister Isabel and husband Elmer Plourde. Dad helped with the harvest, and while there, received a letter from his sister Phyllis, saying that a teacher was needed at the Red Schoolhouse, a 2-mile walk from home. When they arrived on the agreed-upon date, Mom was told that the meeting was the day before. She had her suspicions, and the school never opened. Later that fall, she was asked to teach at Springdale School, which was east of Bluffton, from December to May. That summer, on July 17, 1946, I was born. Mom went to Ribby, stayed with a lady who took in pregnant women waiting to have their babies, then stayed in hospital for 10 days after birth. A big change from now, hey? She went back to Springdale that year, and the next summer, August 2nd, 1947, Arlene was born. Isabel and Elmer drove up from Vulcan to take Mom and Arlene to Calgary, as Arlene needed surgery for a hairlip. Mom stayed in Vulcan while she was in the hospital. Then Isabel and Elmer took them back to Winfield. Meanwhile, I was supposed to be staying with Aunt Mildred and Janice, but I wouldn't quit bawling, so Dad came and rescued me. Mom took that year off from teaching, and the following summer, on August 12, 1948, Jerry was born. It's August of 1948, and the superintendent of Strawberry School District asked Mom to teach at Pendle School, which is south of the highway, about halfway between Winfield and Buck Lake. She didn't have to start until the middle of September because she had just had a baby. The day they moved to the Penfield Teacherage, they loaded up what they needed for the school term into a wagon pulled by a team. Mom put all the baby pablum and other things into a tub, which I'm sure was not a Rubbermaid tub. Put Jerry in the baby carriage, tied it down in the back of the wagon, loaded up Arlene and I, Arlene a 1-year-old, myself a 2-year-old, and away we went. Wouldn't you know it, it started to rain and it was getting late in the afternoon. They stopped at Nubs Becker's place. Hilda made them coffee, and when it finally quit raining, on we went. But by this time it was getting dark, and they were hoping that the odd light they could see in the distance was actually where they were supposed to be going. Eventually, a couple of people who were expecting them came in search and put us up for the night. When Mom looked into the tub, it was full of pablum. It had gotten wet. She found a babysitter for the first month, then later had a housekeeper come in every day. She taught in Pendle School for 4 years, going back to the homestead every summer. A man who had a quarter of land with a log house on it, 2.5 miles north of Hoadley, approached Mom and Dad to live there for paying the taxes every year. This was the place known to us as Shorty's. That fall, Dad dismantled the log house on the homestead and hauled the logs there, while Mom was teaching her last year in Pendle. This spring, when he went to get it ready for us, he discovered a local bachelor living there. And that guy had cut up all the logs in the Homestead house, and no one ever knew what Dad said or did to him. Needless to say, he was gone. 1952. Mom started teaching at Hoadley School, grades 1 through 8. I started grade 1, and we had to walk a mile to get there, uphill both ways. Hoadley Teachridge was a permanent move. Dad took a small flock of sheep, housed them at the neighbor's barn and pastures, and looked after Arlene and Jerry while we were at school. Mom was known for her Christmas concerts. They were always the highlight of the community. She had Grandma Shervin there to play the piano, and the Hoadley Hall was packed every year. Mom was always very good at figuring out what to do with the problem child of the classroom. One year, she made this particular child the master of ceremonies and had the best concert ever, because he was the one that gave all the kids heck for not learning their lines. 1954, Mom and Dad bought the farm 2 miles north of Hoadley, and the following year moved a house onto it, so drove from there to Hoadley. By this time, we were all in school, and Dad had his days to himself. 1956, Mom started teaching in Winfield and had an 8-mile drive, but for the first time, only one class of grade 8s to teach. Things were good. If the highway were too bad or were snowed in, we would all walk out to the highway and flag down the Greyhound bus to Winfield. He would let us off at Grandpa Jones's, and all we had to do was walk a short distance to the school. If there were no other people on the bus, sometimes he didn't even charge us.